InObscuria.
Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Robert Harrison.
Hello.
How are you today, sir?
I am completely distracted by your hair.
It's looking nice. I'm getting a haircut on Friday of this week, I believe.
For those of you listening at home or in your car, Kevin looks like Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. And if you're under 40, you probably don't know who that is because it was in the 1930s. So Google the Little Rascals and look for the character Alfalfa, and you will see what Kevin looks like right now.
Today was a hat day, my friend. I haven't showered in, what is it? It's not Saturday yet. I haven't showered in a week, so.
We need to set some standards for this podcast.
Well, this
Maybe
is
every
quarantine.
24 hours. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's officially been lifted, but I'm still living it. I'm keeping it real over
No,
my house.
they just enacted the mandatory mask wearing in Atlanta today.
Oh, they did?
So it's kind of back on a little bit. It's not quarantine, but you got to wear a mask. So you can be like the Lone Ranger, or you can be a character. She didn't say what kind of mask, so you can get creative and just be your own persona. It's kind of fun.
So, hey, if you're listening to us afterwards, go check out Metal Up Your Podcast, The Dummy Room, Pod of Thunder, Decibel Geek, and let me just pause on Decibel Geek. So I was a guest on Decibel Geek this past weekend. You heard? Yeah, well, you know how we did a little game show a couple of weeks ago, and it was a fairly low score? Well, they do a little game show every week, and it's called Beat the Geek. Let's just say I hold a record.
Did you beat a geek?
No, I am actually the worst player they've ever had.
So now you know what I felt like during our game show.
It was one of those things where nothing was coming to my head and they were pretty hard questions.
Yeah.
And they were about mainstream bands. They weren't obscure. So what the hell do I know about mainstream acts?
Well, they're asking you about Journey. Who's the guitarist for Journey? You're like, Fred?
It wasn't
something?
anything that easy, but it was things like, what team did Ace Frehley play the Star Spangled Banner for a couple of years ago?
No, that's borderline sports trivia.
Well, they would give me, it was a multiple choice. So Aaron Camaro runs the whole thing, and he comes up with all the questions. So he's never played. So I challenged him at the end of the show. I said, Aaron, what is it like when you play? Mm-hmm. And so I said, maybe you should come on to our show and do a little wild card episode.
A little obscure trivia.
Yeah, we might have to do a little wild card like we did with Jeremy with Aaron Camaro. But thank you so much to Aaron and Chris. If you don't listen to the Decibel Geek, go do it. They're great. If you like hard rock, heavy metal, anything in between, it's a really, really good podcast. And it's one of the ones that I started listening to that made me want to do this. I befriended those guys, and they've just been really good to me. They've been really good to us. They've actually promoted us on their show.
Thank you.
And can't say enough about those guys. So thank you very much. Also, go listen to Podcast Rock City, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock. Don't forget about the brand new podcast from Brad Rustoven called Slam Fest Podcast, which is cool. Also, Rock Strikes 10, History Science Theater, and the Synaptic Empire. Come visit us at InObscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us, do all that stuff on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now,
here it comes.
For this week, I had to reach out to the spirits. It had to happen because I just had one of those moments. I was drinking my tea, and I thought, I'm just going to throw it out and read the leaves. As most people, I think, do in the mornings. And so I threw it out after I drank most of it, and I looked at what configuration was made, what shape was made by the leaves that I threw out. And Robert, I couldn't tell if it was the heavy metal devil horns or if it was a Viking hat, like a Viking helmet, because it kind of looks, you've got two horns.
Yeah, we're making the horns.
We're making the horns with our hand.
Well,
the
that's
heavy metal devil horns.
How I came up with the name for my dog. So the devil horns.
And the name of your dog is
Ronnie James D.O.G.
Now, it just so happens that I realized as I was looking at this configuration laid out upon my floor in my kitchen. My wife loves me.
Oh, yeah. She's going to be pissed.
Oh, I did forget to clean it up.
What the hell are you throwing tea on the floor?
Anyway,
I can see that.
That's how we do it. I did realize that it is the birth month. July is the birth month of one Ronnie James Dio.
I felt a presence.
I felt the presence. And because I couldn't tell if it was the Ronnie James Dio devil horns, the heavy metal sign, or if it was a Viking helmet, I knew what I had to go with. And this week, Robert, this is a conjuring of power metal.
Power metal. Not just
Power
metal. This is
power
metal.
Now, power metal
Metal.
was firmly planted in the seeds from one Ronnie James Dio. So if you think back to where he first became known to everyone, it was in Rainbow. And what did he sing about in Rainbow?
Rainbows.
Rainbows and wizards and warriors.
Mountains and witches.
And witches and, yes, sorcerers and swords.
Dungeons and Dragons set to music, basically.
Exactly. And when he went to Black Sabbath, he carried on with that. And when he did his own thing in Dio, it was still about wizards and warriors and demons and rainbows. And he spawned an entire genre of metal music called power metal. So if you're looking for the Dungeons and Dragons episode, tonight is the night.
Let me go get
This
my
is a show
12-sided die.
about wizards, warriors, dragons, demons, rainbows. It's in between the new wave of British heavy metal, in between thrash metal and speed metal, and in between prog metal. It's this area we called power metal.
It's such a mystical land. I want to go visit the land of power metal.
So let's just talk a little bit about what it is. So it's in between all those other genres I just mentioned, and it's really kind of your metal painting a picture, a symphonic landscape of a movie. Mm-hmm. So if you think, your Dragonslayer movie, so they're epic, they're anthemic, lots of rah and shout, and we will all shout together as Vikings, and rallying choruses. You're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. Guitar harmonies out the wazoo.
Oh, nice.
So we'll like that.
Okay.
A lot more keyboards and orchestration than other metal genres.
Okay.
We get a little more orchestration
I'm
here.
open to that.
It's symphonic. It really is. It's like a soundtrack that you play the movie in your head, and it's obviously going to have wizards and demons and warriors.
A journey. There's got to be a journey, not journey, but a journey, a quest.
Now, the themes, like I mentioned, based around those types of mythologies, there's also, your fantasy, your sci-fi. Some of them go a little bit sci-fi. There's a lot of them that base their songs, a lot of these bands base their songs on history. So there's a lot of concept albums based on historical references or maybe reimagining or reinterpreting history or historical facts. And then with any metal genre, there's always the occult as well. So there's a bit of that demon.
You could always go there. That was a guarantee to find some good material when you call up Satan.
Right. And a lot of these bands really go with that same ethos that a lot of the Japanese bands do, which is faster is better. Mm-hmm. So these are going to be speed metal beats with kind of this symphonic attitude. A lot of European bands. Not as much an American thing, very, very European.
There's more wizards in Europe than there is over here.
Well, that's where they came from, right?
Exactly.
So
Wizardia.
If you think about the big festivals that people talk about and for metal that's over in Europe, a lot of these bands, that's their bread and butter. That's what they play. That's their mead and I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a reference.
Mead and mutton.
There you go.
Bread and butter, mead and mutton.
So what bands inspired this? I mentioned Dio, obviously, and I think he really had a big part in creating this whole genre. But then you have Judas Priest, Maiden, Manor. There's an American band for you. I don't know if you're familiar with Manor, but they dressed up and looked like barbarians. So that's obviously a big influence. So there's kind of the cornerstones. If you think about all those bands, the vocals are very operatic and lots of harmonies and almost really lush, pretty harmonies if you take the speed metal and guitars out of it. So it's interesting, and we'll get into some of that. It really came to be, and I would say Maiden and Priest, once new wave of British heavy metal was kind of not a thing anymore, I would say they kind of went over to that. I would consider Maiden a power metal band today. I mean, they do it their own way. Maiden's their own thing, but I would consider them that. Mm-hmm. But really, it came to be, like I said, European. So Helloween is a band from Germany. They may be the first true power metal band, was Helloween in the early to mid 80s. And in the late 80s and the 90s, this really exploded and became a thing, and it has continued to be a thing over the years. There was a resurgence in the 2000s, and again, in the last decade, there was another resurgence of new bands doing this. A lot of these bands have been around since those days. So this is one of those genres where the bands do not go away. They may have, 82 members of the band, but they're still going, and they're like 42 albums in.
It takes a Greyhound bus to tour with them.
I think we're going to jump into this, and you'll notice throughout this that we're going to be able to make some comparisons to some of those bands that inspired this music. So I think it'll be interesting. So the first band we're going to go into today is a German band formed in 1997 from members of another kind of supergroup So Gamma Ray, which was from members of Helloween. So here's the Helloween connection. I think every German band comes from Helloween, apparently. And there was another band called Sinner from the 80s. So these members from those two bands got together and they formed this band, Primal Fear. And the lead singer, you'll recognize it right away, he was actually in the running for the Judas Priest job when Rob Halford left in the 90s. That job went to Ripper Owens, who was an American who was in a Priest tribute band. The singer of this band, Rolf Scheepers, was also in a Priest tribute band, but he has a very, very strong Halford-like voice.
Okay.
So this band's had 13 full-length albums, and they've done really well in the German charts, along with Sweden, Finland, and Japan, of course. Of course Japan comes into this. So let's dive into Primal Fear. This is called Thrill of Speed. This is actually on one of a Best Of album that came out in 2017. This is one of the new tracks on a Best Of.
Speed kills, by the way.
All right.
Yeah, he I'm sure it was a tough call between him and Ripper, but he would have done just fine, I think, if I'd heard him up on stage doing pre-songs. In fact, if he was doing a pre-song and I wasn't paying attention, I might not have heard the difference. I mean, that's such a similar voice to Rob. But yeah, that's got all the classic things that overlaps with more Priest than Maiden, I think.
For sure.
The guitar sounds, what year was this, roughly? Do you remember?
That was 2017.
Okay, well, that's what I was getting at. The guitar sound was the one thing that made me realize it was a newer song. Take that away or plug in a different amp or not run it through the board like it sounds. Right. And I could have sworn that song was from 1982 or 83. Right. The vocals, everything else, the drums, all could have easily come from 1982 or 83, but the guitar sound, that's what gave it away for me.
The first time I ever heard that band, I didn't know what I was listening to, and I really did think it was a new Priest song. I didn't know, and I heard it, I forget where, I think it was on MySpace, way back in the day. And, his voice, on that song, it's a little bit different. There are certain songs where he goes to that really high register, and you honestly cannot tell.
Yeah, once it gets that high, I mean, my hearing sucks anyways.
The man can just sing his ass off.
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
All right, so I mentioned that these were mostly European bands, but there are a few American bands, so I do want to kind of promote those bands because I don't think in the States they get very little love. They have to go to Europe to play shows and get appreciated. But at
least they're getting love over there. European love's pretty good.
That's what they say. At least the French. Okay. Hey, we have a lot of French listeners, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Merci. I had a brain loud. So I'm like, thank you in French.
How do you say thank you in French? Thank you in French.
Thank you in French. Thank you.
Merci. Okay, so here's a band from Pennsylvania, which is where I think most demons and wizards and warriors come from. The Quakers of Pennsylvania.
The Quaker metal. I fully expect to hear that on a future episode.
It's funny you say that. So within this genre of music, there are some subgenres that you will find absolutely hilarious. There's a thing called Viking metal. That's a real thing. There is also a thing called pirate metal.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that. Which
is part of this genre.
I have a history of being a pirate. I was employed on a pirate ship a few times. So, yeah, I think I need to download a whole playlist just of that next time we do a cruise.
So just go look up Running Wild. That's the band who created pirate metal. So Running Wild. It's a German band.
I am doing that.
It's great. Okay, so again, this is Quaker metal from Pennsylvania. It's a band called Pharaoh, which again makes a whole lot of sense. It's an Egyptian name for a Quaker metal band from Pennsylvania.
A lot of pyramids in Pennsylvania.
Anyway, they've been around since 97, and I believe they're still together. I see that their last album was in 2012, but it doesn't say that they've disbanded on anything I've seen, so maybe they're just
on vacation.
Waiting. I don't know. But they've collaborated with some pretty heavy hitters. Chris Poland, who was one of the original guys in Megadeth, they've collaborated with him on some songs. King Diamond, you know who King Diamond is. They've collaborated with the king, the other king of rock and roll, I guess. The singer for this band was in a super kind of metal supergroup called Control Denied, which if anybody's ever heard that, you might dig that. It's featuring the main songwriter and guitarist from the band Death, who were a Florida metal band who kind of helped create death metal. They've had 4 full lengths, again with the last one being 2012. I'm going to play a song called Up the Gates. This is from The Longest Night. It came out in 2006.
couple of things. So when they play live, do they look the part?
I envision all of the band wearing Quaker outfits, yet the lead singer's wearing a Pharaoh getup.
I was picturing animal pelts because Vikings. I don't know. I'm way off. But
I don't know.
if they do not have a replica of a trebuchet flinging T-shirts out into the crowd, they are seriously lacking in creativity because that would be over the top to have a trebuchet flinging merchandise out into the audience. Because flaming cauldrons of molten steel, that's bad. But T-shirts
Probably,
and things like that, maybe a koozie or something. But also, if they are wearing animal pelts on stage, that ride home in the van has to be pretty funky. Bunch of dudes in animal pelts sweating on stage.
They play funk music at night.
Oh God. Ooh. So yeah, that drummer funk, you just can't get that off you. We know from experience.
Yeah, we do know from experience. I feel like that band took a lot of notes from Maiden.
Yeah,
I felt a lot of
the
that whole.
The first song, singer was Halford, influenced this band. Absolutely, Bruce Dickinson influenced. The music, not so much.
See, I think
you
it
had
was
the kick pedal, but.
Yeah, maybe not the drums, but I think they had those guitars that are playing leads that you could hum or chant, which is a big Maiden thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what they were doing. And all the intervals where there was not singing, there was a guitar lead that you could hum or that you could sing to. Mm-hmm. Not a... They had that too, but... You like that? That was good.
Yeah, it was good. But I knew what you were talking about.
What
I know exactly what you're talking about, yes.
And then the other thing is, I felt like every time the singer opened his mouth, I just wanted to put my fist in the air.
Yes.
Like there's no way you
just
could
like
listen
your hair.
to this without... Exactly.
Put my hair in the air like I just don't care. No, but that's a good description of the guitars. There was a blurb on Facebook. It was Neil Sean from... I don't know why Journey keeps coming up tonight. This is purely random. But it was him just noodling
He's the
around
grandfather of power metal.
Kind of.
Well, I don't know.
But the that you mentioned is Neil Sean. He's an amazing guitar player, but his best riffs are when he's going really slow. And that's what the hits are. But when he's just playing, everything has to be, and to me, the musicality, I can't follow along with it. Just what you said. There's no singing along to that guitar part versus like a Gilmore or somebody else that is very melodic when they play. So I understand what you're saying about this one, the guitar being more listenable. Instead of just shredding
and chanty, very chanty. Yeah. You can chant to it. And if you ever hear a concert in South America, that's exactly. I mean, the whole crowd will like sing.
Well, they've got
the leads,
soccer, football. They're used to singing along.
They love those
games.
rallies.
Yeah.
And this kind of music, it's all like a rallying cry. Every single song is oh. And you have to put your hands.
Freddie Mercury playing the crowd.
Exactly. So anyway, that's where a lot of this comes from. Let's keep it going. I'm going to talk about a German/Swedish power metal band.
Swedish.
And this band was formed in 2005 from the ex-members of a very influential German band called Blind Guardian, who was kind of there at the same time as Halloween. They used to tour together. So they're another one that were very early in the genre. So this features ex-members of Blind Guardian, I believe it's the drummer, and another band that I considered playing called Persuader. They've only released 2 full-length albums. The last one was in 2009. It looks like they're still together, but I don't know why they're not releasing music. But anyway, the singer of this band does get criticized for sounding a lot like Blind Guardian. So I think the drummer leaves Blind Guardian, forms his own band, and his new band sounds a whole lot like the band he left.
If something's working,
exactly,
you don't have to change it.
So there is a little criticism there. I think this band's great. They're called Savage Circus. Great metal name. I'm going to play something from their 2005 album, the first album, and this is called Born Again by the Night. So you let me know if you're a Blind Guardian.
Just the title right there.
Born Again
power metal by the night.
And the name of the album is Dreamland Manor.
I just had the biggest epiphany during that song. Get this. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra is a power metal band.
They absolutely...
Mind blown.
Okay, do you know the story about them? They absolutely are a power metal band.
But actually, they sing songs about Santa Claus, Saint Nick, and cold places.
Just so you know, that band was originally called Sabotage from Florida.
Right. I'm from Florida. I got to know that.
I know, but they're one of those early bands that definitely was a in between thrash metal and power metal. And
they had that
they're progressive as well.
Guitars and the guitar harmonies and the lyrics that were more adventurous. And it was an easy transition to start singing about Santa Claus.
So do you know how that whole thing happened with them?
I think I've heard it, but I forgot the story. I love it though.
So Sabotage, on one of their last albums, they released one of the instrumentals that has become synonymous with Christmas. I forget which one. Siberia something.
Christmas in Sarajevo.
So yes, something like that.
Why do I know that? Holy crap.
So they released that on a Sabotage album. It did so well that they realized that they stumbled upon a niche.
We got something here.
And so then you have Trans-Siberian Orchestra come out, and they've never looked back because it sells out.
You never hear of Sabotage reunions or anything. No, these guys are making serious bank probably 6 weeks out of the year.
Exactly.
Because they start touring in November, I think. Maybe late October, but I think all I hear about is them touring in November, December, and then they'd kick it in the Bahamas the rest of the year.
I believe they have two versions of the band, too.
I would guess because...
I think they tour in different areas of the world.
Yeah. It's just like
time.
Our friends that do yacht rock have two different versions of the same band because they can make twice as much money.
Well, that's Sabotage. What did you think of Savage Circus?
Loved it. I mean, it was definitely face-peeling music when it kicked in right at the very beginning. Oh, Jesus Christ. I got to hold on to the bar next time when you play that. But that's about as many notes as you can fit into a song. Right
so
there.
If you were considering going to listen to Blind Guardian, that's basically what it sounds like.
It's the same thing. Good.
Yeah.
Two for one. I
really,
like that.
really good. So I'm going to continue down the German path.
Hold on to my face.
There you go. Yeah, it might fly away. So we're going to stay on a German band. This is another German band that was very early in the mix. This is a band called Gravedigger, and they were formed in 1980. They released 3 very influential heavy metal albums in the early 80s. They toured with Halloween. They toured with another band called Accept, who a lot of people are familiar with.
Balls to the Wall.
Balls to the Wall, another great German band. In 1987, they changed their name to Digger. They dropped the grave. Mm-hmm. And they were going for a more commercial sound, more straightforward hard rock.
Had nothing to do with the monster truck?
Nope.
Okay.
Not in Germany. So if you're European and listening to this, there's also a big monster truck in the States called Gravedigger, and it came out around the mid-'80s.
Early to mid-'80s,
Anyway, so we didn't know about the band. We knew about the monster truck here. But anyway, it flopped. The Digger album absolutely flopped, and they disbanded. And then they reformed in the 90s, and ever since have just fully embraced their power metal, and they've released 16 albums, the latest one coming out just a few months ago. This band, though, is very, very different, and you'll hear it in the vocals. I absolutely love them. This is one of those bands, when you hear the vocals, you either love it or you hate it. So I don't know what you're going to be.
Oh, boy.
But to me, it's really interesting. It's very opposite of any other power metal band, because this is not your whoa. You're not getting that here. Now, many of the albums that this band does, here's another cool thing, is they do a lot of historical and mythological themes. So they have concept albums, almost every album. And I mentioned they have over 16 or 17 albums. So they've talked about everything from the Knights Templar, Tales of King Arthur. They did a whole album about Christ. They have 3 albums about the Scottish clans. Now, I don't know why a German power metal band has 3 albums just about basically Braveheart.
It's because we were interesting. We had a lot of stories to tell.
I guess I have Scottish in my blood as well, so I don't know. They've also had their last album was about zombies, so they were embracing that.
What about vampires? Have they touched? Because that was really popular a few years ago.
Well, they did the works of Edgar Allan Poe. So if Poe wrote about vampires, maybe.
Kinda, yeah.
But anyway, it's interesting to go through their catalog, because you can tell from the covers and from the song titles what they're about. Everything's just very out there. You don't have to use your imagination too much. So their latest albums was released, like I said, in 2020 during the pandemic, which is called Fields of Blood.
Hopefully it's not prophetic, let's just say.
Anyway, So let's play a little Gravedigger. I'm curious what camp you're going to be in after this one. This is Valley of Tears from one of their Scottish clan albums, The Clans Will Rise Again, that came out in 2010.
And stones, they crept like snakes, hunted our hives and fished from our lakes. They stepped on our land and this was forbidden. They didn't see us but we were hidden. In one fatal moment we caught them all, captured and imprisoned in the mighty hall. Bound and gagged, we brought them to court. We executed 36 at our fort. We take revenge for the atrocities, drinking the blood of our enemies. From highlands to lowlands, brothers in mind, we love and we hate, we fight till we die. We're marching, we're riding for glory and fame. In the valley of tears, blood is our name. Of the darkness, with murder in mind, the camp would give orders the king had signed. Put all to the sword and bring them to death. Put on their graves the laurel wreath. We take revenge for the atrocities, drinking the blood of our enemies. From highlands to lowlands, brothers in mind, we love and we hate, we fight till we die. We're marching, we're riding for glory and fame. In the valley of tears, blood is our name.
You son of a bitch. So I know what you actually played there. That was actually the Cookie Monster doing power metal. Because I swear to God, the first verse of that song, that's all I was thinking of. Cookie Monster doing the singing the metal. Yeah.
I love it. I don't know why.
But it grew on me. And so I'm not in the haters camp for that. I'm kind of about 8 feet into I love it, but not firmly planted into that camp. So it kind of reminded me of, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, the first singer for Iron Maiden. The first singer for Iron Maiden didn't have the same vocal range that Bruce Dickinson's, but he was good, but he was limited in his vocal range. And I think in interviews, other people said the same thing. And so they brought in Bruce Dickinson, who can hit the high enough note to break glass. So that's why this guy kind of reminded me of that all his power was down here amongst us mortals and not up in the stratosphere where I can't even begin to hit.
Paul Di'Anno,
yes. So he good singer, and I like Murder in the Rue Morgue and all the stuff he did like that. But still, it's almost two different bands when Bruce Dickinson took over.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's just so gritty.
It is gritty,
and they even have power ballads on their albums, and he sings gritty power ballads.
I love you.
I don't know why. It just
baby.
It works for me. I think I have every single album, so I have a ton of stuff.
Oh, slow dance to that, yeah. Come on.
I can't explain.
That turns all the women on. Yeah.
Absolutely. You getting hungry? You want some pizza? Let's go to Italy.
Are you going to Oh, damn it.
You really are.
Now I am hungry.
I think we should talk about an Italian band.
Okay.
And the other thing we haven't talked about with this genre, and you will not find many of them in this genre, are women.
Yes, well, back to my previous comment.
Yeah, not a lot in this power metal genre, but here is a band from Italy called White Skull, and they have a female singer who they've actually had a few. The original singer, Federica Deboni, she was with them from 1988 until... Deboni. I don't know.
Deboni.
Whatever. Who knows? They're not French. They're Italian. Anyway, she was a singer from 88 to 2001. Then she left, and I think they had a guy for a while, and then they had another girl, and then they brought her back. So 9 years later, she comes back. So they're still going. And really, I don't know of another one. I can't think of another power metal band that I know that has a female singer or any females in the band. So it's definitely unique. And they do the same thing. They sing about, ancient empirical types of themes. So they have albums about the Romans. They have albums about the Egyptians, the Vikings. It's very much a war rallying type of subject matter that they like to talk about. And they've released 10 full lengths and an EP from 95 to 2017. So again, they're still going. You might have the same response that you had to the last song when you hear this, because her vocals are not what I call pretty.
Female Cookie Monster.
So let's see what happens when you listen to White Skull from their album Public Glory, Secret Agony, The Roman Empire.
get the image of a demon-possessed Pat Benatar in your head, and that's what we just listened to.
I like it.
She has a great voice, but that raspy voice, how the hell do you sing like that? I mean, Bruce Springsteen, other people that have that raspiness to their voice, I can't even imitate it for 30 seconds, and I feel it the rest of the day. It's amazing how they can sustain that over the course of an entire show, much less a career. But yeah, that was a really powerful voice she had, and I'd let her get me in a headlock anytime she wanted to.
Gargling nails with black coffee.
Exactly, and about 20 packs of Marlboros. Whatever the recipe is, it sounded good.
She sounds a little bit like Doro Pesch. If you've ever heard, there's another German for you. So if you've ever heard Warlock or Doro, very similar voice. And the thing I thought about that we haven't brought up with these bands that we probably need to talk about is a man and his band that has not been mentioned, which is Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force. If I think about impact in the United States, none of these bands have had that much impact in the United States. But I think Yngwie had early on in his career and even had some hits, but his first couple of albums were very similar to what a lot of these bands are doing. He kind of was the template as well with that whole neoclassical sound.
Right.
And that very symphonic type of guitar that he would play, or in really the orchestration that his band would play. And this band, especially that we just heard, is very neoclassical. I mean, you could tell that they're schooled musicians. You're not going to play that type of stuff unless you have some classical training, some background.
And I've got to wonder what would have happened with Randy Rhoads. He was so big into classical music, and it was already a little bit of his influence. I'm not saying he would have gone into power metal, but still that classical metal type influence that he was, from interviews and stories I've read, that he was getting kind of bored with the typical rock guitar and wanted to go back into classical music. But I'm sure at some point he would have even blended those two even better. So it's a shame we never got to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he was another one that was very interesting, just like Yngwie, where he would take this very classical approach but put it into a pop and metal song. So it was just, the combination of all these things to make this amazing music. And what is really what made it unique for both of those guitarists. But I think this band has a lot to pay to Yngwie.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the guitar runs and the repetition, those polyrhythms, very, very Yngwie Malmsteen, although nobody can play like that man.
No, he gets the Notes per Minute award.
Absolutely. So I do want to talk about, I mentioned only a few U.S. bands. Here's another one. And this is a band from Tampa, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
This is a band.
Lots of rainbows and Vikings in Tampa.
So it's interesting. There actually are a lot of metal bands from Florida. So we mentioned Sabotage. There's a band called Obituary from Florida. Death, who I mentioned, is from Florida. Control Denied, I also mentioned them earlier. And this band called Iced Earth. You ever heard of Iced Earth?
No.
So from Tampa, they've been around since the early 90s. They have 13 full-length albums, 4 EPs, 3 box sets, 3 live albums. Damn. Very prolific. They're really the creative force of one man, John Schaefer. He kind of is Iced Earth. And they've had a bunch of different lead vocalists, I think 5 different lead vocalists. One of them was actually Ripper Owens. Oh, yeah. So while he was still in Priest, he did one of their albums. And then when he was let go from Priest, he actually became their singer. So he's on a few of their albums. The most distinctive singer that they've had, and the one I'm going to play, is a guy by the name of Matt Barlow. And he actually, if you see pictures of this guy back in his heyday, he looks like a red-headed Viking god. I mean, he's just got that look to him, and his voice, when you hear it, is just very much that commanding power metal voice. Very strong. He actually quit the band. The reason that Ripper had to come in, he quit the band after 9/11 because he decided, I want to go do something else. I want to be a cop. He moved to Delaware and was a cop after 9/11 because of the events of 9/11. He actually came back to the band for another album, and that's the one I'm going to play for in 2008, but he wasn't in the band very long and went back to his other life. This band also has a bunch of concept albums, and one is kind of a recurring concept, which is a saga, almost like a series of books, if you will. It's called Something Wicked This Way Comes, and they've had 5 or 6 albums cover this topic. It's basically a fictional story based on the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, and they've had this whole saga, and they have their own version of Eddie, who's on all these covers. So if you think of Iron Maiden, a lot of these bands, they have this character that represents their band. Iced Earth is no different, and they're probably the closest to a Maiden kind of ripoff. They have a mummy as well. It's a demonic mummy named Set Abomine, but he's on all their covers for the most part.
Do they have a Stonehenge?
I don't think they have a Stonehenge. They really should. But this is another band that in the States, they don't play that much. They go to Europe if they want to play big festivals and do things. And
That's so weird.
They have a live album that's live in Athens, and you can tell it's just a packed arena. It was early in their career.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're just packing the place out in Greece. Like probably play here to a small club.
150, 200 people.
Yeah. The last time they were here, a couple of years ago, they played Masquerade.
Yeah,
so it's not a huge place, but it's where a lot of bands play in Atlanta.
People.
But anyway, really, really good band. Like I said, very prolific. John Schaefer is a songwriter and rhythm guitarist. He's not a lead dude, so he always has a lead guitarist. He's had a whole bunch of people in and out of the band, but very interesting band. I did want to play them, so here is some Iced Earth, some American power metal.
What I'm about to say is meant as a compliment, not as a criticism.
Ruh-roh.
It sounds like they were produced by Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. And what I say that is because
Lack of production?
No, the harmonies. I'm talking.
Okay.
The singer it sounded like Paul Stanley singing power metal to me, and then their harmonies. It was a really good blend, and because of his voice, it sounded kind of like some Kiss harmonies on there, not guitar harmonies, but Kiss harmonies. So other than that, I mean, it was good music, but I really enjoyed the vocals. It was just a good blend. It was a good mix.
And I think that was Matt Barlow harmonizing with himself.
Okay.
I don't think there's another singer
Okay.
in that group, so I think it was him.
I mean, that's what we
studio.
did. Yeah,
But
it was the easiest way to do it.
did it automatically just take you to Florida?
No.
You can see why maybe.
I think of Skinner, Jimmy Buffett, and a lot of other
Yeah.
music genres besides
When I
power
hear that,
metal.
I think the beach in
I'm
Tampa,
thinking,
Florida.
Yeah, a little Mai Tai, some fried fish. Yeah.
You know what I'd like to hear is a riff off between John Schaefer, who was the rhythm guitarist in that band, and James Hetfield. Two of the strongest right hands I've ever heard. I mean, just the crunchiest. I mean, just so good, those rhythms.
Yeah. No, I agree. That would be. Let's arrange that. I'll make some calls.
Okay, yeah, let's see if we can set that up. Maybe we can get them in here next week.
Next week,
I think
yeah.
my calendar's
They're not doing
open.
anything. They're not
Probably.
touring.
They're not doing anything. I have one more song for you, Robert, and we cannot go out on anything other than an album by a Swedish band that's called Dragonslayer. That's the name of the album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The name of the song is Hail to the King, and the name of the band is completely lifted from a Ronnie James Dio album, Dream Evil. The name of the band is Dream
wow.
Evil.
They didn't
even mix it up. They just stole the name.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I named my dog Ronnie James D.O.G., but they completely plagiarized that. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So this is like the most cliche power metal band you've ever heard, but they're great.
But if you're going to do it, go for
perfectly
it.
cliche.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is it was formed by Fredrik Nordstrom, who is an actual producer. He was not a metal musician. He
knew what he was doing.
He was a producer for a lot of the European melodic death metal bands, not power metal. He was doing death metal, but he was doing the melodic stuff. That's a thing. That's a Swedish thing.
Oh my God.
And so he wanted to do his own band, and so he puts this band together, and originally he was going to call it Dragonslayer, and they're like, oh no, that's too generic. So he just stole a Dio album title and called the band Dream Evil. And so you've got Dream Evil. And the original guitarist was a Greek guitarist named Gus G, who was also on the Ozzy Osbourne album Scream that came out in 2010. So he was one of Ozzy's guitarists.
Oh, so the new guys.
The newer guy. And
is he still doing it? The most recent album?
No, the most recent was another guy who was in a band called California Breed.
Because I've never heard of him.
Right. He's more of a pop guy, I think. But he was in a band called California Breed and I can't think of his name right now, but he was in that band with Glenn Hughes, who was from Deep Purple.
He's no Zakk Wylde. I'm sorry.
I agree with you completely. And Scream with Gus G, it was no Zakk Wylde as well, but it was kind of a refreshing break from Zakk's stuff that he had done, because to me, Zakk, Black Label, and Ozzy was getting to sound very similar.
I noticed that when I started diving into Black Label a little bit deeper about a year ago.
So Ozzy got, in 2010, he got Gus G, who is the guitarist on this song that we're about to hear.
Cool.
And this album actually went to #1 in the Japanese import charts.
Making the bank.
So they've had 6 full-length albums since 2002. Again, I'm going to play from their very first album called Dragonslayer. This is Hail to the King, baby.
Fire and pain with you. sacrifice my blood for you. I always will be by your side. Together we will never fail. So rise to starting glory.
Did you say that came out in the 2000s?
2002.
That's insane. That sounds like 1985.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just thinking that as it was wrapping up. I'm like, that sounds like
He
mid-80s.
nailed that sound perfectly. I mean, he's got great vocals. What an amazing voice to be able to sing like that. But the guitars, I'm blown away. Once again, as I mentioned in the earlier ones, that's what turned me off a few of the songs, that digital, straight through the board sound, overprocessed, whatever it is. But that captures that 80s cheesiness, but it's gourmet cheese.
It is.
Gourmet cheese.
It is gourmet cheese.
And he knew what he was doing. He's a producer. He's like, no, we do this. So going into it, before they even started, he was already thinking of what it was going to sound like versus let's just write a song and see where it ends up.
Completely thought out. I think what this guy did was he just thought back to the 70s to every airbrushed van he ever saw
God, yes.
and took all of his song titles and ideas from the airbrushed vans that used to ride around in the 70s with the sword and sorcerers.
There's a sword and then wizards and the Hail to the King and a battle and a war and
that is the ultimate to me, just the name of the song, the album, the band, the artwork.
That's why it's gourmet cheese.
It's just
because it didn't half-ass
there.
it. It's not just, well, let me try to write a power ballad, power metal song.
Yeah,
but go for it.
That is power metal.
Do it. Just go all the way.
It's like I'm going to take I don't know if they mentioned a rainbow in that song, but I'm going to take everything
It's
Ronnie
probably on
James
the album
Dio
cover.
thought.
It's on the corner, like when you open it up, there's a rainbow inside.
Probably. Yeah. It's a CD. You open it up and you got that rainbow effect.
Pop up. Oh, yeah, glitter rainbow. Yeah. God, that was good.
Oh, man.
Glorious.
So that's what I have for you this week. I didn't know where this was going to go because this is.
We ended on a high note. That was.
Cheese.
That was a bad pun, but
it was definitely on a high note.
Yes. No. You ended on some really good gourmet cheese. You teased me with pizza halfway through, which is bad because I'm starving now. But yeah, the gourmet cheese. I'm satiated. That was good stuff.
Awesome. We shall see how this does. Until next time. Later.
Get a haircut, hippie.
I know, right?